Geometric sequences are going to be similar to arithmetic sequences in that they are a list of numbers. What's different about them is that instead of going up by adding or subtracting a number, we're going to be multiplying or dividing. Or really, we could say we're multiplying reciprocals when it looks like we're dividing. So our formula that we're going to be using a lot today is a of n equals a sub 1 times r raised to the n minus 1, where a of n is our nth term, or that's kind of like our last term that they give us usually. A sub 1 is our first term, r is our common ratio, and n is our number of terms. Alright, you can pause this if you need to write that down. Let's go ahead and look at an example. We want to write an equation for the nth term of each geometric sequence. So we're writing an equation for a of n, basically. So we don't know the last number because there's a dot dot dot. So we don't know what a of n is. We know that the first term is 0.5. So we're going to have 0.5 in for a of 1 times the common ratio, which we don't know yet, to the number of terms minus 1. And we don't know the number of terms, so we're just going to leave n as n. To find the common ratio, if you remember from the very first section of this top section, we're going to take the last number and divide it by, the second to last number. So 32 divided by 8 is 4. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 2 divided by 0.5 is 4. So the common ratio is 4. Okay? Now, that's our answer. It's as simple as that. We can't really combine anything because the 4 is raised to the n minus 1, which is being multiplied by the 0.5. So we can't combine those two because they're to different exponents. On the second example, we still want to write an equation, and this time we know that a of n, or our last term given, is 5. So we'll put 5 in for a of n. We don't know our first term, which is what we want to find. The common ratio is given to us as 6, and our number of terms is 4. So we'll have 4 minus 1. If we simplify that, we'll get 5 is equal to a of 1 times 6 to the third, which 6 to the third is really 6 times 6 times 6, and that is 216. Alright, so now we just need to divide both sides by 216, and that is our first term. Okay, are we done yet? No, we're not done yet. We need to try to figure out the formula. So we're going to have an a of n is equal to our first term, which we figured out was 5 over 216, and we're going to multiply that by our common ratio, which is going to be 6 raised to the n minus 1. And that's our formula. So when it says to find a formula, even if you have like the exact numbers, like here we had a number for 4, or for n, and it was 4, we don't want to put that into our general formula because we want to write a formula that will work for any number of terms. So this is going to be our answer for B. Alright, geometric means. Those are like arithmetic means, only instead of adding or subtracting, we're multiplying. So to find those means, what I like to do, if it doesn't give this to you already, is I like to write down the numbers and put spaces in between them, like blank spots for what we're looking for. This says we're putting 3 geometric means between 2 and 1250, so I'm going to leave 3 blank spots. Now we're going to use our geometric sequence formula, which is a of n equals our first term times the common ratio raised to the n minus 1. Okay, we know that a of n, our last term, is 1250, so let's plug that in. We know that our first term is 2. We don't know what our common ratio is, But we know that our last term, 1250, was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th term. So we can plug in 5 for n. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can reduce that at all. So that'll be 1250 is equal to 2r to the 4th. Now we just solve for r. So we divide by 2, and 1250 divided by 2 is 625, and that equals r to the 4th. Okay, now how do we get rid of an r to the 4th? Well, what you can do in your calculators, you can either raise both sides to the 1/4 power, or you can take the 4th root, which I guess your calculators probably don't have a button for that. So you're going to have to usually write 625 raised to the 1/4. Okay, so this is how you would type that in. 625, use your little caret button, and then 1 divided by 4. And that gives us 5. So the common ratio is 5. Okay, so that's what we're multiplying by. Is that our answer? No, we wanted to figure out what goes in these blank spots. So to find those, all we have to do is multiply the first number by 5 and then continue doing so till we get 1250. So let's do 2 times 5. That would be 10. 10 times 5 is 50. 50 times 5 is 250. And 250 times 5, well, that turns out to be 1250. So those are our geometric means, those are our answers.